if you're having that consideration of moving from Windows 10 to 11, we can also help you with moving those applications across that may not be supported onto that new operating system.
Yeah, and we're doing that with customers at the moment. We've got a couple of customers, we've got large environments that are still running on 2000, 2003 supported platforms, or unsupported platforms. We're able to pick those applications up, or the entire application set, even if you don't have the installation software anymore, we can pick all that up, do an analysis, and actually decouple the operating system and then put that on a supported platform of 2022 and have all the idiosyncrasies going back into the other areas and have it working properly. There's been a case study done from that vendor that they moved 1,400 servers within 6 months from an unsupported platform on 2003, 2008, 16-bit apps across to a supported 2022 platform, and done seamlessly.
Yeah, and I think with that as well, that can be in any platform as well. So if you're moving infrastructure, you're moving from on-premises into public cloud, for example, it doesn't matter. We can take those applications and we can move them and put them onto a supported platform.
Great. So guys, earlier you were talking about cyber insurance and how everyone needs to have it and how important it is. And one of the things you mentioned earlier is that if people don't have a up-to-date supportable operating system, then their insurance can literally be null and void.
Yeah.
What else does the audience need to understand about cyber insurance?
Look, there's a couple of good key differentiators that they need to look at, because cyber insurance, like most insurance, you need a playbook to read it. It's like 100 pages of what is, what isn't, what can, what can't, whether we'll pay out or not. Now, with cyber insurance, you have it there for peace of mind in case you get, cryptoed or, ransomware or something like that. But the main criteria is that there are some key areas that you need to look at. One is any external website or interface into your organisation, like remote access, must have two-factor authentication. Because if that doesn't happen, they'll null and void it.
So basically saying if an organisation doesn't have two-factor turned on, their cyber insurance is null and void?
That's correct. And it's written probably 30 pages deep that you won't see it, but that is correct. We've had instances of customers that have had that. We've come in to resolve those issues because it was pointed out to them, and we've put MFA across all their websites, across all their remote access, to make things nice, easy and secure. There's a couple of ways of doing that. That could be with Microsoft Authenticator. It could be with passcodes. It can also be with tap on, tap off with door cards.
Yep.
So there's a couple of ways of doing it. But from a security point of view, under the actual cyber insurance, your MFA is your key criteria. The second one, as I mentioned before, is end-of-life software. Software that is no longer supported. I can tell you now that if you go into 90% of the organisations that we actually see day in, day out, they are running legacy software. They are running unsupported platforms. They are running stuff that they just don't understand or realise. And that's where, bringing in the likes of Tiva, we can come in and do that analysis and see what they've got and basically put them on the right path to make sure that they are fully aware and secure to meet their cyber insurance needs. So it's not just meeting their cyber insurance, but it's actually protecting their environment at the same time. So it's a double-edged sword. You've got to protect the environment from security, make sure that the end user experience is there as well, because you can lock it. If you want to have it really locked down, people can't work. So you've got to have that, got to have people working, but got to have that security as well.
Yeah.
But then you've got the insurance companies there to help you at the end of the day, but you've got to meet their criteria as well. Because if you don't do that, they're not going to pay out.
I remember you telling me a story about one of our clients a while ago. They were trying to renew their cyber insurance and they had one device left in this very large organisation that if that wasn't upgraded, the whole company was waiting on, literally, or the CEO was waiting on signing off that cyber insurance.
Yeah.
So literally one device out can void your insurance. Is that what you're saying?
One device, one operating system, one unsupported platform can wipe out your entire cyber insurance.
Interesting.
And a lot of people don't understand that. And if, that's one thing if people watching this take away, update, have a look at your environments, because 9 times out of 10, there's unsupported platforms, there's unsupported applications, or there's just something that you've actually hooked on that you haven't set up MFA for.
So guys, on the same vein with cyber insurance and security in general, right, we know that a lot of our customers are the IT managers, IT administrators, and they have accounts that basically have, admin or administrator access across the board. Now that's generally a big security issue. How are we helping customers to get around that issue?
Yeah, I think for many organisations, they've got a number of these scenarios where you've got a lot of accounts that might be global admin, for example, in a tenancy for their Entra ID, for example, or a lot of people with domain admin permissions if they've got a on-premises domain, for example. And what we see is that not only do you have internal staff, but then perhaps also might be contractors or something along those lines that they might come in to do a project. It could be, even ourselves. When we go to work with a customer, we request certain access to be able to do the tasks that we've engaged with for a project, for example. And often we find when we go and ask our customers, for these permissions, that often don't have the systems that we would like, ideally, for them to have in place to ensure that they have adequate protections. So an example of what I'm talking about here, Steve, is what we call Privileged Access Management, or PAM for short, which helps in a number of different areas. It's really important that the concepts of zero trust and least privilege are adhered by organisations, and this is not just for broader staff, contractors. This applies for all users in an organisation, even if they're only temporary as well. Rather than blanket always giving somebody access, it's about what you need to be able to do your day-to-day job, and then also what you need to be able to do during that specific task that you're looking to do. And that could be connecting in to perform a change, for example, or to create a new user, whatever it might be that individual is looking to do. We want to ensure that they only have the permissions that they need for the task that they're doing during the period that they need to be able to do it, and nothing any longer than that. So, examples where this is often used, and there are many other approaches that customers take. Obviously, from a broader EUC perspective, we talk about VDI and desktop as a service. So we see customers use things like VPN. We see them use Citrix or a Cloud PC, these types of things as a way of giving maybe a contractor or a staff member access into their systems to be able to work. But they might leave that access in place for a longer period of time than they need. Well, they might give them permissions that they don't need because they don't fully understand actually what it is that they need to be able to do. So blanket giving them admin access, sharing those credentials also is a consideration as well. So if you have a new starter, or you have a contract administrator come in, such as Tiba coming to do a project, we don't want you sending passwords via SMS or sending us an email with login details. Right, that sort of stuff is something that even the person who creates the account doesn't need to know. All right? Ideally, that whole life cycle of the user, what they're looking to do, what systems they're needing to access, is able to be fully secured and administered in a way that there's no credential sharing or any of that sort of stuff occurring.
So what sort of solutions do we actually offer our clients to solve this problem?
Yeah, so in that space, we have a couple of products from our chosen vendor partners that we work with. What we look to understand more broadly is what the different use cases are. Is this potentially something for contractors? Is it something just for internal staff, for an IT department, for what it is that the business needs? And then we can give guidance from there around, what problem are they trying to solve? Is it, password lifecycle? Is it privileged access management? What are the other requirements potentially as well, such as remote access? And then we can give them guidance from there. And that includes examples of things like Improvada is one of the vendors that we work with their PAM solutions. And again, that could be depending on the requirements, something that is cloud built and hosted, or something that's deployed into the customer's environment.
But if I look at some of the case studies that we see with customers using traditional VPNs and stuff like that, they'll give an admin access, or they'll give a jump box to a contractor to come in. Now that is also, in ways, some sort of security breach too, because if that contractor gets targeted, they've then got VPN access to a jump box for someone to come into that can then also come in and crypto or do some damage to your environment. So that's real importance by putting PAM in place to stop that jump box support from a contractor coming in. For example, most buildings have air conditioners, and you will have the likes of the air conditioner companies that will come in via a jump box to manage their air conditioner. So this way we can actually set policies up in PAM to only allow them to come in from that particular IP address, but only to be able to launch that particular SSH application to that particular address of that air conditioner. So we can really lock down the process so that third party, if they do get exposed, which we've seen in the past, that won't then follow through to the actual customer.
Yeah, it's interesting.